You wake in Victorian England. No heat, no electric light, no hot water, only a freezing room before dawn. The window is iced from the inside, the fire is dead, and your breath hangs in the dark. Before breakfast, work, or school, your first task is simple. Survive the cold long enough to begin. Welcome to Lantern History. Tonight, we step into an ordinary winter morning in 19th century England. While walking on the streets of Victoria, I would be very happy if you subscribe to my channel. Also, if you write in the comments. This is not a palace story. It is the life of someone who must rise, dress, eat, and endure. There is no central heating, no switch on the wall, and no warm shower waiting nearby. Outside, gas lamps fade in the fog, while horse carts creep over stones glazed with frost. Inside, the house still holds the night's cold, and every crack seems to breathe winter air. You open your eyes beneath heavy blankets, knowing the first battle of the day has begun. A thin blue light enters the room, revealing frost on the glass and dead ashes in the grate. Your bed holds layers of wool and old quilts, but by morning the warmth has almost vanished. Last night, a warmed brick near your feet promised comfort. Now it is only cold weight. Leaving the bed is the first real challenge, because the floorboards feel like ice. Your bed holds layers of wool and old quilts, but by morning the warmth has almost vanished. Children shiver through the same ritual, half awake, quiet, and already late for the day. A full morning bath is unlikely. Heating water would take fuel, time, and patience. Most people wash only their face and hands, often with water cold enough to sting. Workers rise earliest, long before daylight, because the factory bell will not wait. In richer houses, servants wake first, carrying coal before the family opens its eyes. The morning fire decides the mood. If the coal catches, the whole house breathes easier. For most people, the morning drink is not coffee, but tea, warm, simple, and deeply familiar. Sugar is not guaranteed, so many workers drink their tea with little sweetness, or none at all. The bread is often yesterday's bread, because fresh loaves are not something every family can buy daily. Porridge is common too, plain and filling, made to keep a person going through long, cold hours. For the working class, breakfast is not a feast. It is cheap fuel before the factory day begins. In middle-class homes, breakfast grows richer, with eggs, butter, cheese, and a stronger sense of order. In wealthy houses, breakfast can become a display of abundance, with meat, preserves, porcelain, and silver. Even breakfasts reflect social rules, and women are often expected to eat more lightly than men. The poorer you are, the earlier you eat. The richer you are, the later the morning begins. For children, breakfast is usually simple, but in winter it matters, before the long walk to school. After breakfast comes dressing, and in winter, dressing is less fashion than protection. For workers, clothing must survive cold streets, long shifts, coal dust, and rain. Wool is heavy, scratchy, and necessary. Cotton alone cannot keep winter away. A respectable man layers shirt, waistcoat, jacket, coat, and a carefully tied neckcloth. For women, dressing can take far longer, with petticoats, corsets, heavy skirts, and shawls.
A corset shapes the body, but under winter layers, it also makes breathing harder.
In wealthy homes, winter clothing is warmer, heavier, and also a clear sign of status. Boots matter because icy streets, mud, and frozen puddles punish every weak soul. Gloves are not just warmth. For respectable people, they are part of proper behavior. Children dress like smaller adults, but their thin limbs still face the winter cold. Even after dressing and breakfast, the battle with winter continues inside the house. Victorian houses may have thick brick walls, but insulation is almost non-existent. Wind slips through window frames and under doors, finding every weakness in the wood. People stuff cloth into cracks, hoping a few scraps of fabric can hold back winter. A fireplace warms only the space nearby. The far corners of the room stay cold. Some rooms are left unused all winter, because heating them would waste precious fuel. Coal is useful, but not unlimited, so poorer families spend it carefully. Most families gather in one room, because one small fire must serve everyone. Richer homes can light several fires, but even wealth cannot warm every corridor. Heavy curtains and rugs are not just decoration. They are defenses against the cold. In many homes, the toilet is outside, making a winter night trip a small ordeal. Even indoor facilities can be cold, damp, and far from anything we would call comfort. Cold, damp rooms make coughs linger, and illness can become frighteningly serious. Families warm stones or bricks, wrap them in cloth, and slide them into beds. Moving through the house means crossing invisible borders between warmth and freezing air. Children drift toward the stove because the far corners are too cold for lessons. On bitter mornings, even ink can thicken, turning writing into another winter struggle. Large houses look grand, but without central heating, their upper rooms remain icy. For Victorians, cold is not an emergency. It is simply part of the day. And once the house is barely warm, the world outside is waiting with work. For workers, the day begins before sunrise, while the streets are still dark and frozen. Most cannot afford transport, so they walk through mud, frost, darkness, and smoke. The factory chimney is the morning landmark, rising through fog like a dark tower. The factory bell does not care about weather. Late arrival can mean lost wages. Inside the factory, warmth comes only slowly, after machines begin to move. Hands begin the shift stiff and numb, especially when cold metal is the first thing touched. In textile mills, women work in closed air, avoiding cold drafts, but breathing dust. Those with a little more money may ride, but the journey is still cold and crowded. Children also walk to work, small bodies facing the same cold as adults. Even office clerks work in coats, writing carefully while their fingers fight the cold. In wealthy houses, servants rise first, carrying coal before the family even opens its eyes. Before comfort appears, someone must kneel beside the grate and coax the coal to life. For the wealthy, a carriage softens the morning, though it cannot remove the cold. The carriage is warmer than walking, but winter still presses through every crack. In London, fog and coal smoke can turn morning into a dim yellow maze. Each breath tastes of smoke, and the day has barely begun. A few seconds near the flame may be the only warmth a worker gets. Bronchitis, pneumonia, and lingering coughs are never far from a winter household. For many Victorians, winter work begins with darkness, smoke, cold hands, and no complaint. Cold is not a reason to stop. In the factory, work simply continues. For children, winter morning begins much like an adult's, cold, dark, and unforgiving. A slate, a scarf, and worn boots are all they carry into the frozen morning. Some children walk miles to school, through mud, frost, and streets still half dark. Short trousers leave little legs exposed, because comfort is rarely the rule. Arriving at school does not mean arriving somewhere warm. The lucky pupils sit near the stove. The rest learn while shivering. Even teachers feel the cold, though discipline expects everyone to continue. On bitter days, ink thickens, and even writing becomes a winter chore. Cold fingers shake over slates, but trembling hands are not accepted as an excuse. In Victorian winter, school is not sheltered from hardship. It is part of it. Some children do not walk to school at all. They walk to work before daylight. Cold rooms and poor food make winter illnesses especially dangerous for children. Even in the cold, children still play, though the game often ends with frozen fingers. Teachers often believe hardship builds character, so shivering is not treated as a reason to stop. Wealthier children may study at home, closer to firelight and farther from frozen streets. Class changes the temperature of childhood, but it does not erase winter completely. To be a child often means acting like a smaller adult, with chores, cold, and duty. Now the house releases them into the streets, where winter shapes every step. And the Victorian street is not a postcard. It is mud, smoke, frost, noise, and survival. Victorian streets in winter are uneven, muddy, icy, and far less romantic than they look. In poorer districts, a winter walk often means choosing between mud, ice, and standing water. Horses keep the city moving, but they also make winter streets dirtier and harder to cross. London fog is not gentle mist. It mixes with coal smoke until the streets nearly vanishes. On the worst mornings, seeing a few steps ahead is already a small achievement. For those without shelter, winter is not discomfort. It can become a matter of life. A hot potato from a street seller can feel like a small pocket of mercy. Chestnuts, soup, and warm food stalls give the street brief moments of comfort. Everyone wears layers, yet long hours outside can defeat even the thickest coat. Gas lamps help, but in winter fog their light reaches only a few uncertain steps.
In darker streets, cold is not the only worry. Leo, caution walks beside every step.
People keep to the lit paths, because fog and darkness make strangers harder to read. Carriages may look elegant, but on icy stones, even horses can lose their footing. Winter traffic is slow, crowded, and messy, long before engines ever enter the city. Slipping on ice is so common that even newspapers and cartoons make jokes of it. Yet winter is not only misery. Christmas windows bring small islands of light. For children, a bright window can briefly make the cold street feel magical. On the same street, winter reveals class in every coat, boot, glove, and carriage. From far away, it may look charming. Up close, it is mud, smoke, cold, and effort. And in this cold world, clothing is never just fashion. It is a form of survival. In Victorian winter, clothing is protection, etiquette, and social rank all at once. For women, winter dressing means layers upon layers before even stepping outside. A cloak or shawl may look graceful, but its first job is keeping winter away. The muff is both accessory and hand warmer, elegant, useful, and only partly effective. A respectable gentleman must dress properly, even when warmth would prefer simplicity. Hats are not optional. Even in bad weather, respectability sits firmly on the head. Galoshes protect delicate shoes from mud, snow, and the punishment of the street. Children are dressed like smaller adults, though the cold reaches them more quickly. Many families buy second-hand clothing, then mend, patch, and wear it for years. By the time they are dressed, many Victorians carry winter on their bodies. After the cold morning, midday arrives, and lunch is less pleasure than necessary fuel. For many workers, lunch comes wrapped in cloth, bread, potato, and perhaps a little cheese. A potato may look plain, but in winter it offers warmth, weight, and a little strength. Meat is a luxury for many families, stretched thin in soups, stews, or Sunday meals. In some workplaces, thin soup is served, valued more for warmth than flavor. In middle-class homes, lunch is more orderly: vegetables, bread, cheese, tea, and sometimes fish. At home, soup is useful because it feeds the family and warms the room a little. For wealthy families, luncheon can become a graceful display of comfort and abundance. Here, lunch is not only eating, it quietly announces the household's status. The same hour means different meals, different rooms, and very different levels of comfort. Lunch is brief, often quiet, and always followed by the same long return to work. Children eat whatever was packed for them, then return to lessons in the cold room. A hot potato from the street can warm the hands before it fills the stomach. Chestnuts and warm street food turn a frozen street into a brief shelter. Tea is more than habit. Boiled water is often safer than drinking it cold. What people drink at lunch also reveals class, safety, habit, and money. There is no long pause, no relaxed hour. The meal ends when work calls. By afternoon, the winter light is already weakening, and the city feels tired. After lunch, everyone returns to duty. Machines, ledgers, lessons, chores, and cold. And when the working day ends, the second hard journey begins: getting home. When the factory day ends, workers step back into darkness, colder than when they arrived. The walk home repeats the morning struggle: mud, frost, smoke, and aching feet. Clerks may ride home, but crowded transport offers little warmth and less comfort. Children return with cold hands, wet boots, and lessons still echoing in their heads. The wealthy return by carriage, separated from the street by wood, glass, and money. As night gathers, the cold street also becomes a place to watch carefully. On the way home, many stop for food, coal, or one last warm bite. Winter shortens the day, and by early evening the city already feels half asleep. Reaching home brings relief, though the cold does not stop at the doorstep. Now the family gathers near the fire, because evening dinner is finally beginning. After a long, cold day, evening dinner becomes the house's most important gathering. For working families, dinner is plain: potatoes, bread, cabbage, and whatever can be stretched. A little meat, when there is any, is stretched through stew to feed everyone. Children usually fill up on bread and potatoes, while richer bites are carefully divided.
In middle-class homes, dinner follows order: soup, meat, vegetables, and careful manners.
A pudding or tart can quietly prove that a household is doing well. In wealthy homes, dinner becomes almost theatrical, with servants, silver, porcelain, and courses. Several courses may appear, not only for hunger, but for ceremony and display. At the table, children listen more than they speak, and order matters as much as food. Even during dinner, half the room may be warm, while the other half stays cold. After dinner, tea returns again, warm, familiar, and safer than much of the water. In better-off homes, beer or wine may appear beside dinner, marking comfort and class. In poorer homes, one pot often serves everyone, and every spoonful is measured carefully. Once the meal is finished, everyone drifts toward the fire, the true center of the home. Reading aloud fills the evening, letting one book become entertainment for the whole room. A story can last for many nights, one chapter at a time beside the fire. In middle-class homes, music at the piano shows culture as much as it brings pleasure. Games pass the time quietly, with cards, small boards, and careful manners by the fire. Children may still have lessons to finish, bending over slates in candlelight. The evening grows quieter, held together by firelight, small tasks, and the dark outside. After dinner, conversation becomes its own kind of warmth. Quiet, practical, and close to the fire. In poorer homes, evening talk often turns to coal, food, wages, and tomorrow's needs. In middle-class rooms, the talk may turn to books, newspapers, politics, and the city outside. In wealthy homes, evening can become a social performance, with guests, tea, manners, and display. Gaslight and candles help, but they are weak, smoky, and tiring to the eyes. A novel may unfold over weeks, one chapter each night, like a slow Victorian series. Some stories are told so often that even Victorian children know every turn by heart. Needlework fills many evenings, repairing clothes as much as passing the time. Everyone has some small evening occupation: reading, writing, mending, or simply staying warm. As the fire sinks lower, the evening loosens its hold, and bedtime begins to approach. Bedtime begins by leaving the fire, and that means returning to the cold again. The bedroom has waited all day without heat, like a small private winter. A warmed brick is wrapped in cloth and sent ahead to soften the bed. If it works, the bed feels mercifully warm for the first few hours. In wealthy rooms, curtains and feather quilts help trap warmth around the sleeper. In poorer homes, sharing a bed saves blankets and keeps bodies warmer. Nightclothes are not light and airy. They are another defense against winter. The famous nightcap is not a joke. It helps keep precious heat from escaping. Night washing is simple. Hands, face, perhaps teeth, and often very cold water. Children are tucked under layers, warmed as best as the household can manage. At night, a chamber pot waits nearby, because going outside in winter is far worse. A midnight trip across an icy yard is enough to make any chamber pot seem sensible. In richer homes, servants prepare the bed before the household settles into the night. For the wealthy, bedtime is more polished, but still shaped by candles, cold, and routine. Even men change carefully for the night, leaving the public day folded over a chair. Before sleep, flames are lowered or snuffed, because fire is comfort and danger together. Once the lamps are out, the house becomes almost completely dark and deeply quiet. Bedtime is not simple. It is a small project of heat, cloth, darkness, and caution. Children sleep first, while adults linger a little longer, listening to the house settle. At last, beneath wool, quilts, and darkness, one more Victorian winter day begins to end. A full Victorian winter day is finished, but the cold remains awake in every wall. Beneath the blankets, the warmed brick slowly cools, giving less comfort with every minute. Outside, winter finds the cracks again, breathing softly under doors and through old frames. Somewhere far away, a cart creaks over stones, then disappears into the fog. You began the day with frost, a small breakfast, heavy clothes, and a cold street. Work, school, and duty carried everyone forward, whether the rooms were warm or not. At midday, food was simple, but even a potato or tea could help the body continue. By evening, everyone searched for the same thing: a doorway, a fire, and a place to sit. The room that held the evening now cools again, with only embers keeping watch. And now, under heavy blankets, the long winter day finally lets the body rest. A simple winter day in Victorian England is really a quiet lesson in endurance. From morning frost to evening embers, nearly every hour has been shaped by cold. There is no central heating, no electric switch, and no hot water waiting nearby. A warm potato, a cup of tea, or a place by the fire can feel enormous. What seems small to us could be the best comfort of the day. It reminds us how extraordinary ordinary warmth can be. And still, people worked, studied, cooked, laughed, worried, and dreamed. The same cold surrounds them all, yet sleep comes because tomorrow must come too. Outside, the lamps grow faint, the fog thickens, and the city settles into silence. For now, stay beneath the blankets and let the old winter street fade away. Long after midnight, the fire has almost vanished and the room belongs to the cold again. On the glass, frost keeps drawing its pale patterns while the household sleeps. The hallway is dark now. Every room has retreated into its own winter silence. Outside, the street holds its breath, with only gaslight and fog keeping watch. In poorer homes, warmth is shared quietly, under patched blankets and crowded sleep. In richer rooms, comfort is softer, but winter still waits at the window. The kitchen rests at last, after carrying the weight of the household all day. A far cart passes once. Then the sound is swallowed by fog and stone. Near the bed, school things wait silently, because morning will come soon enough. For now, let the frost stay on the glass, and let the old house sleep. The house is quiet now, but the winter night continues its slow work. On the washstand, the water waits cold and silent for morning. Behind each door, another sleeper keeps close to wool, quilts, and darkness. The street outside is empty now, holding only fog, frost, and weak amber lamps. The last ember fades slowly, and with it goes the house's final warmth. Beneath the blankets, the body learns to make a small shelter of itself. Even behind curtains and feather quilts, winter presses softly against the glass. In smaller rooms, sleep is crowded, but closeness helps hold back the cold. Soon, the kettle, the coal, and the cold floor will ask everything to begin again. For now, let the old room stay quiet, and let the winter carry you towards sleep. The street is empty now, but the cold keeps moving softly through the stones. The schoolroom rests in darkness, its desks waiting for cold hands in the morning. The factory is quiet at last, but its cold walls are already waiting for dawn. In the kitchen, tomorrow is already waiting. In the kettle, the ashes, and the cup. A few pieces of coal remain, carefully saved for another freezing start. A sleeping child is warm for now, though the school road waits beyond the window. The boots have stopped for the night, but by morning they must face the street again. Even wealth sleeps inside old walls, where warmth fades from room to room. The frost on the glass is quiet now, like lace drawn by the winter night. Sleep settles over the house, and the old street disappears into winter fog. Only a night watchman moves now, walking through fog while the city sleeps behind glass. The lamps burn low, small amber islands in a sea of winter darkness. Behind closed shop doors, ovens and counters wait silently for the first hands of morning. In the attic, a servant sleeps lightly, knowing the household will need warmth before dawn. In back rooms and sculleries, water waits cold enough to punish the morning hands. A stray cat crosses the alley, and even that small movement feels loud in the cold. Above the roofs, the last smoke thins and disappears into the winter sky. Under the quilts, sleep is not perfect warmth, but it is shelter enough for now. Before anyone wakes, the kitchen already knows what the morning will ask. The night begins to loosen, but the city is not ready to wake just yet. In the last hour before dawn, the room is coldest, quietest, and hardest to leave. The frost on the window remains, even as the night begins to thin. Somewhere in the house, a servant wakes first, because comfort must be prepared. Coal, kindling, and cold water wait, like the first chores of another winter day. Before a room can warm, yesterday's ashes must be cleared from the grate. A first flame appears, small and uncertain, but enough to begin the morning. The kettle is set in place, and the day begins to gather around it. Outside, the lamps fade as chimneys begin to write smoke into the dawn. By the bed, school clothes wait patiently, as if they know the child must rise. And slowly, quietly, another Victorian winter morning begins to form. Morning returns quietly, but the room has not grown kinder while you slept. The frost stays on the glass, reminding you that night has only changed its color. Before the family wakes, quiet footsteps carry coal through the darkened hall. Every new day begins with the same question. Will the fire catch quickly? The kettle warms slowly, and with it, the house begins to remember life. The boots are stiff, the coat is heavy, and the street is waiting again. School waits in the corner, patient and cold, long before the child is ready. One door opens, then another, and the sleeping street becomes a working street. The factories wake before the sun, and people follow their chimneys through the fog. And so the cycle begins again. Frost, fire, tea, work, and the long winter day. Another morning begins the same way, not with comfort, but with cold. The first chore is always the fire, because without it, the room never truly wakes. A little flame changes everything, even before it is strong enough to warm your hands or hands. Tea will come soon, simple and familiar, the first small kindness of the day.
The children rise too, because winter does not pause for small bodies.
A worker dresses for the street as if preparing for weather, labor, and endurance together. The street gathers its people again, one doorway at a time. The factory waits in the fog, and the morning belongs to those who must work. The schoolhouse opens again, though warmth inside is never promised. And so history repeats itself, quietly, coldly, one winter morning after another. What looks peaceful from a distance was often uncomfortable, tiring, and very cold. A simple wash could remind you how precious warm water really is. A little fire could feel like a miracle when the whole room resisted warmth. A small lamp mattered when darkness filled most of the street. Most people did not escape the cold, they simply learned to move through it. Comfort was often shared in small circles, close to the fire and close to one another. Even childhood was shaped by duty, weather, hunger, and early mornings. Class changed the blankets, the food, and the room, but winter touched everyone. A day like this was ordinary. But ordinary did not mean easy. And still, the day begins again, quietly asking everyone to endure a little more. People did not need comfort to begin the day. They needed enough strength to continue. A warm cup in cold hands could feel like the whole morning becoming possible. The door opens, and the day asks for effort before it offers anything back. Even the youngest learn that winter is something to cross, not something to avoid. A fire did not warm the whole house, but it gave the room a reason to gather. History is often remembered in kings, but it was lived in cups, boots, coal, and cold. The whole city moves slowly, wrapped in wool, smoke, fog, and routine. And now, let the ordinary people of the past return quietly to their sleep. The lamps grow softer, the street grows quieter, and the old city begins to fade. Stay warm where you are, and let the Victorian winter drift away into sleep. You are not there now. You are only visiting the cold from the safety of sleep.
Let the frost stay behind the glass, far away, quiet and harmless.
The street has no more demands tonight. It only holds fog, stone, and fading light. The fire has done what it could, and now even the embers are ready to rest. The kitchen is finished for now, with its kettle waiting patiently for morning. The child sleeps before tomorrow asks for courage, lessons, and another cold walk. The boots are still tonight, and for a few hours, the road can wait. Even comfort has limits here. But sleep softens what the day could not. Above the rooftops, the winter sky holds the city in a deep blue silence. Breathe slowly now, and let the cold old world grow softer and farther away. You can leave the cold behind now. It belongs to another century. The lamps blur, the smoke thins, and the old street drifts away. Only the soft weight of blankets remains. Steady, quiet, and enough. The kettle can wait for morning. Tonight, there is nothing more to do. The embers grow dim, and the house stops asking anything from you. Above the roofs, the winter sky keeps its silence a little longer. The school road can wait. For now, even duty is asleep. The road has taken enough for one day. The boots rest in darkness. The frost stays outside the story now, soft, distant, and harmless. Let the old winter room fade now, and let yourself fall gently asleep. The old room is quiet now, and there is nothing more it needs from you. The street has emptied, leaving only fog, stone, and the last low glow of lamps. One by one, the lamps become softer, as if the city itself is closing its eyes. The kettle is silent, the table is bare, and the day has finally let go. The last ember keeps watch for a moment, then gives the room back to night. Tomorrow can wait beside the bed, folded into boots, wool, and slate. For a few dark hours, even work has stopped knocking at the door. Above the chimneys, the winter sky is still, heavy, and endlessly quiet. Let the fog blur the lamps, and let the frozen glass become only a dream. Rest now, while the old Victorian winter fades gently into the dark. The old room is still now, and the long winter day is truly over. No factory bell, no school road, and no cold street can reach you now. Only frost on glass and a soft lamp remain, far away in the fog. The kettle, the cup, and the ashes can wait until morning. The fire has gone, but the story has left its warmth behind. The child sleeps, and tomorrow's cold can wait outside the dream. The road has ended for tonight, and the boots do not need to move. Above the rooftops, the winter sky grows softer, deeper, and the frost become quiet. Let the fog become distant, and let yourself rest. Good night, sleep peacefully, and let the old Victorian winter fade completely away.